come on in, take a load off. Back in the kitchen here at the Savage Mansion. And today we're going to be making some spooky treats for Samhain, as well as some nice Russian Earl Gray tea to go with the Russian icing that we're putting on. So while we get the treats started, we'll get some tea going. And we'll just let that set and steep while we get started on our lovely treats. I broke out Old Reliable. Oh, we bought this, what, 300-400 years ago? Back home in Transylvania. It's never failed me. So first thing is we're gonna take some Bigfoot fat, basis of any good recipe. And this one was actually locally sourced. We caught him in the backyard. All right, and then we'll go ahead and throw in the rest of it. We're looking for, and we're just gonna let Old Reliable work that up a little bit. Now, if you can't find locally sourced Bigfoot, Vlad's, our favorite Transylvanian grocer, always has the most wonderful selection. Anything that we can't locally source, we go all the way to Wallachia, Transylvania for it, Vlad's. We're going to turn that down a bit. Now we're going to work on we're going to take some ash from the recent bonfire ritual. I like mine bleached, but you could use the brown stuff as well. We're going to work in about a cup of this to the cup of Bigfoot fat. Well, actually we're going to go a little bit more, maybe another, about a cup and 2/3 to a cup of fat. I'm going to let that whip up together. I want to say these are perfect for your Samhain ritual or Halloween party or just any get together. I've yet to meet a ghoul that didn't love them. Now I had a casting call in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago, and I made a trip by the La Brea tar pits while I was there. So we're going to take some of that tar and add it in. This will help not only give it a little bit depth, a little bit bit of a depth of flavor, but it will also blend in nicely and keep the moisture in. And we'll just crank up Old Reliable a little bit more and work that in. That was probably about a tablespoon's worth. Because there's nothing worse than dried cookies. You gotta have some moisture in it. Now, if you use the unbleached graveyard ash, then you don't need quite you may be able to get away without the La Brea tar, but there's just something about it that adds a little depth of flavor to it. All right, now that we've got that incorporated nicely, we're going to add just a pinch of Dead Sea salt, and this actually will help to even out the sweetness from the graveyard ash, the bonfire ash, and the tar from the La Brea tar pits. And just a pinch, nothing too fancy, nothing too extravagant. It actually helps accentuate the sweetness a little bit. So, and once we get that mixed in a little bit, then we're going to take 2 chicken embryos. I would have used pterodactyl embryos because I could have gotten away with one of them, but Mary's been feeling under the weather, so she hasn't been laying near as many. I'm going to crank up Old Reliable a little bit. And as always, we have One-Eyed Willie to thank for getting all of our ingredients together today. He's not very talkative today. He's still pretty tired. He had a date with the Bride of Frankenstein's sister last night. They were out pretty late. That's worked in a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit of don't you hate new potatoes with formaldehyde? They are a pain to get open. Put in a little formaldehyde for flavor. That mixed in. Crank it down a little bit because now's the messy part. Just one ingredient left to go in. And that's the ground bones of our enemies. I've been saving these up for a while. Their heads are along our fence row outside, but the bones we save strictly for baking. I'm going to actually turn it off for a second while I add in some. Probably about a half cup, half, 3/4 of a cup there. Just gonna work it in incrementally so we don't get, because for one thing, the bones of enemies can be so hard to source sometimes. And there's not always a reason to go out and pillage. So I don't like to waste it, and it's always a mess to try to clean the kitchen after it's gone flying everywhere. So. Incorporated. I'm going to add just some more in. Like I said, just kind of working it in incrementally so it doesn't go flying all over the kitchen. If this was the dungeon, I wouldn't worry, but you know, Kitchen Zombie isn't always available to clean for me, so. Put in another couple of big spoonfuls, so we're probably working at about 2 cups of ground bone. You always want to make sure to scrape up from the bottom and the sides, get it all incorporated. Want it nice and uniform. We like lots of giant ants in ours. Nothing like that little crunch. Then you just fold them in. You can put as many ants or as few as you want. Now, before I start my next batch, I'm going to make 2 batches. The first batch we put the ants in. The second batch we're not going to. But I'm just going to stop, take a moment, and have a nice cup of tea. I absolutely adore Russian Earl Gray. And of course, just a splash of milk. It is exquisite. What makes it different than regular Earl Grey is the extra bergamot, which really makes this blend amazing. Now, back to our recipe. Hey, we're back. Let this chill out in the fridge for a little bit, just to kind of firm up a little bit. Now we've got the oven preheated to 350 degrees. We're gonna take some of the dough. Now we're just gonna get a little bit of a roll. And kind of flatten it out a little bit once it's on the sheet. You wanna make sure to keep a little bit of distance between them so they don't grow together. So, Willie, how was your date with the Bride of Frankenstein last night? You never did tell me. You just kind of slunk in half sloshed at 2 a.m. with rum.
Well, let me tell you about that Bride of Frankenstein. She's pretty hot, man. Yeah, that's a kinky couple there. I'm gonna tell you something about her. I got a charge out of her. I'd tell you more, but, then this video become X-rated. We can't have that.
Now on to our Russian Buttercream. Since we have our wonderful Russian Earl Gray going, time to make some Russian icing. You know, I used to visit my cousin Rasputin in St. Petersburg, but yeah, the Bolsheviks just ruined that. Definitely ruined any family reunions. We have a cup of Bigfoot fat going. Now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of work this around and let it whip up nicely. It's looking nice and fluffy. Now, we're going to add 14 ounces, which is 1 can of pus. Only the finest pus. Remember, Vlad's for all your grocery needs. He carries the finest canned pus. You can tell it's the finest by how thick and oozy it is. And I prefer it the more brown than green. Once it gets green, it just tends to be a little gamey for this. Now we'll just start whipping this together. Perfection.
Hey there, cats and chicks. Welcome back to the Tiki Lounge. I'm Rock Savage, your host, the world's most dangerous filmmaker, but today I am going to be the world's most dangerous bartender once again. Now today, however, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do a kid-friendly drink. And you may say, Rock, why would you do a kid-friendly drink? I'll tell you why. Because, you see, many of you probably, I don't know, if you've grown up in a Latin family, you know, like I did when my mom she made spaghetti and she made lasagna. Everybody got wine, including the kids. You know, and occasionally I would share beer with my dad, or dad would share beer with me, actually. But mixed drinks and cocktails were out of the question. As you know, they're very, very strong. However, maybe some of you don't even want your kids to have any alcohol. But what happens when you go to a restaurant and everybody's got fancy drinks and everything? Maybe your kid wants a fancy drink too. So I have a cocktail for kids, and some of you may have heard it, and that's what I'm going to make today. It's called the Shirley Temple. Now, for those of you young folks who don't know who Shirley Temple is, allow me to enlighten you. Shirley Temple was a child actress, and she appeared in a lot of movies, and she was very cute. She had fat little cheekies and curly blonde hair, and she was so cute. It was almost a crime how cute she was. Anyway, the public loved her and everything, and one thing I don't like is my cat. You cannot have any alcohol, and you can't have a Shirley Temple, Samantha. This is what happens when you live in a haunted house with black cats. Say hi, Samantha. Yes, now leave. That's okay. Anyway, as I was telling you about the Shirley Temple, it was named after Shirley Temple, the actress, and you know, being a child actress and being extremely cute, her parents took her everywhere, and she got to rub elbows with big stars and everything. And as a matter of fact, Cesar Romero, who played the Joker on the Batman TV show, was in one of her movies. So she knew a lot of famous people, and she got to hang out with adults. Well, she would notice when they were at a restaurant, everybody would have these fancy drinks, and they would have, you know, the martinis with the olives, and they would have the, you know, other drinks that had, you know, lemons, limes sticking out of it and everything like that, and cherries. And she wanted to know why she couldn't have a fancy drink too. Well, that's what she called it. That's what little kids called it. They said, it's a fancy drink. They didn't understand the word cocktail. So she being a bold little girl, asked the bartender, if he could make her a fancy drink. Well, the bartender, being extremely smart and creative, created a drink just for her. And he named it after her, the Shirley Temple. And word of mouth got around and the drink caught on, and a lot of parents and people who didn't drink alcohol were ordering Shirley Temple. And now it became a national craze, and we still have the Shirley Temple to this day. You can go to a bar and order a Shirley Temple. And hopefully any bartender worth his salt knows how to mix one. I'm going to show you how to mix a Shirley Temple in your own home. And that way, when you're having a martini, your kid can have a Shirley Temple. And I used to have Shirley Temples too when we went out with my parents. First of all, they're served in a glass like this. I remember this distinctly from when I was a kid. The first ingredient, believe it or not, 7-Up. That's right. Now, you can substitute Sprite or ginger ale. I prefer the original. This was the original drink that Shirley Temples were made with. Your mileage may vary. Knock yourself out. Grenadine. How do you say it, honey?
Grenadine.
Grenadine. My wife helping me out there because I have verbal dyslexia. Grenadine. That's right. That's your other ingredient. And we are going to mix it right now. First thing you do, and don't forget the ice. It's always on the rocks. First thing you do is we're going to take 7-Up. And you are going to pour 1/4 of a cup. Now my magic mixer here, 1/4 of a cup is right there. So I'm going to pour some right there right now. That's right, it's nice and sparkly. Remember the commercials? The Uncola. So there, 1/4. Pour that bad boy in there. Okay. For this, you are going to need only 2 tablespoons. This is the tablespoon measuring on this cup. Like I said, these are handy if you can find one. I'm sure you can find one online. They come in very handy. Yes, I know bartenders, don't use those. You don't see them using those, and how about that? Well, darn. This is still on there because it's brand new, but that's okay. I always have a knife back here because you never know who you may have to stab. Just kidding. No. But we'll open that right there. That caught me by surprise. I didn't even notice that. We may want to cut line. Oh, never mind. It came off quite easy. Okay, very good. All righty. Let's do 2 tablespoons of this. Really, we're being a little overprotective, aren't we here? Okay, there we go. 2 tablespoons here. Very good. Excellent. Then you pour that bad boy in there. Excellent. That is looking good. Then, take your stirrers and mix it up. Oh, well, where are my manners? We need a coaster. In this case, a Dracula coaster. There we go. Now, stir that up, but don't forget a cherry. That's right, you need a cherry with this bad boy. That's part of the ingredients. Martinis have olives. Shirley Temples have cherries. Okay, just pour that cherry right in there. And trust me, the kid's gonna eat the cherry. It's very sweet. And there you have it, the classic Shirley Temple. And it's kid friendly and it's delicious. And if you're an adult, you can have one too. You don't have to be a kid to have one. That is very sweet. I love it. And the best part is, you don't need a designated driver with this. Cheers! Oh, I almost forgot. What to do with that leftover 7-Up? You put it in one of these cool Uncola glasses. Now, I don't have the glass upside down. It's really like this. Now, you can also mix more. But somebody may want a 7-Up. So there you go. You can enjoy the Uncola, as we used to say. And no, 7-Up's not paying me. I wish they were, but okay. I'll be a two-fisted drinker now. Cheers, once again.
Well, that about does it for today. With treats like this comes Samhain Eve. Your guests will not be saying nevermore.